On graduation day, you wear the cap and gown, you pose for photos with your parents, but in your mind, you are doing a different calculation. How many years will you have to work just to pay off the cost of these 4 years? In 2026, the Federal Reserve, along with several education tracking organizations, released the results of a major new survey. The numbers are hard to laugh at. Over the past 10 years, tuition at American universities has surged by nearly 40%. But for most majors, the starting salary for new graduates has barely moved. In other words, you pay more for the same degree, yet its actual purchasing power has shrunk. What makes it even harsher is that many people choose their field of study without realizing they are walking into a trap. Your high school teacher tells you to follow your passion. Your parents tell you to study what you love. Inspirational videos online tell you that interest is what matters most. All of these words feel warm, but what they do not tell you is this simple truth. Some majors leave you unable to pay back your student loans. What goes through the mind of someone who chooses physics? Hawking, Einstein, interstellar, black holes, parallel universes. You imagine yourself one day standing at a blackboard, writing equations that nobody else can understand, changing humanity's understanding of the cosmos. Just thinking about that image gives you goosebumps. Then sophomore year arrives. Sophomore year quantum mechanics and electrodynamics will knock you right out of that dream and then punch straight through the floor. In 2026, a flow tracking study from the academic world revealed a very frightening pattern in physics departments. They call it one-way outflow. What does that mean? A large number of students transfer out, almost zero transfer in. It is a one-way street and the direction is clear escape. Why does this happen? Because you quickly discover three things. First, the math is so hard that you start questioning your own intelligence. This is no joke. Many physics students experience for the first time in their lives the feeling of reading every word, understanding every word, yet having no idea what any of it actually means. Second, when you take your bachelor's degree in physics to a job interview, HR looks at you like you are from another planet and then asks, "So, what exactly can you do?" The awkwardness makes you want to disappear on the spot. Third, every well-paying job that is actually related to physics requires a PhD as the basic entry ticket. Not a bonus, not a plus, the entry ticket. Without that doctorate, those jobs have nothing to do with you. So you thought you chose the most intellectually prestigious major. Instead, you find yourself in an academic marathon that lasts 10 years or more, and you are only in year 3, already out of breath. You look at your friends in engineering and computer science. They are doing internships in their junior year. They have job offers by senior year, and you are still struggling with quantum wave functions. Then you start asking yourself, what am I even doing here? The advice from those who have been through it is this: unless you are 200% certain that you want the academic track, and you are willing to study until age 30 before you receive your first decent paycheck, then think very carefully before choosing physics. Your passion is valuable, but passion does not pay the rent. Without exaggeration, biological sciences might be the most misunderstood major in all of America. Many people choose biology for a very simple and intuitive reason. They want to become doctors. Biology is the best pre-med track. It sounds completely reasonable. The logic seems perfect, right? The problem is the acceptance rate for American medical schools is lower than you can possibly imagine. Every year, tens of thousands of biology students flood in with dreams of becoming physicians. In the end, fewer than 1 in 10 actually put on the white coat and walk into a clinic. What about the other 9 out of 10? They enter the job market with a bachelor's degree in biology. Then they discover a brutally cruel fact. Biology graduates straight out of college earn so little that they may not even be able to pay the interest on their student loans. You want a high-paying research path? You are very welcome. But first, you need a master's degree, then a PhD. That is 8 years minimum. And during those 8 years, you had better pray that your advisor does not exploit you, that your thesis does not get stuck, and that your mental state does not collapse. This is why biological sciences are called the 8-year degree meat grinder. It grinds up your youth, your passion, your parents' savings, and what comes out the other end might be a degree that you do not even know how to use. There is a comment from a biology graduate on Reddit that went viral. Let me quote it directly. "I studied biology for 4 years. Now I work in a lab washing test tubes. You know what? My salary is about the same as the monthly rental cost for the lab's automatic washing machine." That is not humor. That is reality. That is a person's youth being priced at a value they simply cannot accept. What makes it even worse is that the level of internal competition in biological sciences is notorious within academia. You think everything is fine once you get the PhD? Not at all. After the PhD comes postdoctoral research. After postdoc comes a second postdoc. Some people keep going until age 35. Then they look back and realize their high school classmates who became electricians without going to college now own 2 houses. That is biological sciences. If you do get that white coat, then it is absolutely worth it. But if you do not, you must have a plan B. Employers only pay for your hard skills. They do not pay a premium for your white coat dream. Nearly 30% of graduates in criminal justice directly express regret after finishing their degree. Not mild disappointment. They tell you straight up they regret it. Why? Because too many people choose this major with a very specific image in their heads. They see themselves in a black suit, wearing cool sunglasses, walking in slow motion into a crime scene. They crouch down, glance at the body, and say in a cold voice, "Secure the scene. Call forensics." Or maybe they imagine themselves as elite FBI agents, flashing a badge, making everyone fall silent with instant respect. But here is the reality. Federal agency job openings are frighteningly scarce, scarcer than you can imagine. The FBI, the CIA, the Department of Homeland Security. These names sound impressive. But how many positions do they open each year? And how many criminal justice graduates across the entire country are fighting for those few spots? The competition is not intense. It is a bloodbath. You think you can graduate and join the FBI solving cases? Go get in line. There are 3,000 other graduates ahead of you, all with the same law enforcement dreams. And many of them have master's degrees and a stack of certifications you have never even heard of. Your bachelor's degree in that line barely qualifies as a ticket to stand in line. Even if you somehow beat the odds and miraculously get in, promotion speed in the public sector is measured in years, not performance. And your starting salary? So low that you have to call your landlord every month with the most humble tone saying, "Sir, I am really sorry. I will definitely pay on time next month." Then you go home, open Netflix, and see detectives on screen driving sports cars and living in penthouses. All you can do is smile bitterly. The summary from those who have been through it is just one sentence, and please remember it. The cooler it looks in movies, the poorer you will be in real life. If the previous majors are about getting slapped by reality, then education is about being slowly tortured by it. People who choose education usually carry a genuine sense of mission. They truly want to change children's lives. They want to stand at the front of a classroom and shine. They want to become that teacher a student comes back to thank 10 years later. That intention is precious. There is nothing wrong with it. But here is the reality. You pour all your passion, all your energy, all your youth into that classroom. Then at the end of the month, you realize you can barely make rent. Let us look at a typical day for an average teacher. Arrive at school at 7 in the morning, start preparing teaching materials and handling administrative paperwork. Classes begin at 8. You stand and teach until 3 in the afternoon. The students go home, but your work has just begun. Grading homework, preparing lessons, replying to parents' messages, filling out various evaluation forms. The time you actually leave school is usually 7 or 8 in the evening. You get home, eat dinner, then sit back in front of the computer to prepare lessons and make PowerPoint slides. Weekends are for catching up on sleep and preparing next week's materials. What about the salary? Multiple data sources all point to the same conclusion. American teachers' pay is completely out of proportion to the hours they invest, the pressure they carry, and their level of education. Add to that the ridiculously high interest rates on student loans in America, and you will see an absurd situation. You studied for 4 years, you got your teaching certification, you work over 10 hours a day. Then your monthly salary arrives. After deducting your student loan payment, the money left over is so little that even going out for a simple dinner with friends requires a mental calculation. What is the cruelest part? Society demands more and more from teachers, but gives less and less respect. Administrative burdens keep growing like a snowball. Then one day you receive a message from a parent that says, "Teacher, are you even qualified? My child says your class is boring." That one sentence can instantly destroy the effort you have put in for an entire semester. This is a profession that runs on love. But love cannot pay the bills. Love cannot pay the mortgage. Love cannot give you the same quality of life at 38 that your peers in other industries enjoy. If you still decide to go into education, you are a truly noble person. But before you set out, please do the math clearly. It is not about reality defeating ideals. It is about knowing at least what your ideals will cost you. What is the most common sentence heard by art graduates? At a dinner gathering, a relative you have not seen for a long time smiles and asks, "So, what kind of work are you doing now?" Then the air freezes for 3 seconds. You awkwardly put down your chopsticks, force a smile, and say, I am currently working at a coffee shop." That is the real portrait of an art major. I am not saying art has no value. The value of art needs no proof from anyone. But the problem is that society does not know how to price it. No matter how well you paint, how impressive your sculptures are, how deep your conceptual work is, how high your professors rate your graduation exhibition, if the market does not pay, you do not eat. The income curve for art graduates is extremely polarized. A tiny number of top performers can earn staggering amounts, but for the vast majority of the rest, income is wildly unstable. This month you get lucky and land a big project, so you earn decent money. Next month, you might have 0 orders and make nothing at all. You live forever in a state of panic, never knowing where next month's money will come from. And what is the cruelest part? In the art world, the people who can truly pursue pure creation without restraint usually fall into only 2 categories. Geniuses, or people whose families are already wealthy enough that they never need to worry about their next meal. If you are neither, you will be torn back and forth between your dream and your livelihood for the rest of your life. If you really want to study art, let me give you a very practical suggestion. This is not telling you not to study art. This is telling you that during your 4 years of college, you must also learn another skill that can generate income. Business thinking, digital marketing. Community management, design, software operation, anything will do. The path of pure art without business sense to support you will be extremely difficult. Your talent is real. But talent also needs a business model so the world can see it. Many people who choose political science have a fire burning in their hearts. They want to change society. They want to participate in public affairs. They want to speak for the underprivileged. They want to make the world fairer and better. These ideals are admirable. There is nothing wrong with them. The problem comes down to 3 words. What comes next? You carry that fire through 4 years of study. You read political philosophy, comparative politics, international relations, public policy. You can debate with your professor for 2 hours about the future of democracy. You feel full of mission and knowledge. Then you graduate. You open a job search website and look for political science-related jobs. You discover that the positions that actually involve public affairs, government departments, think tanks, international organizations are so few that it shocks you. And to be honest, many government jobs do not even require a political science degree. They want public administration, a master's in public policy, or someone who has passed national civil service exams. What about the private sector? When corporate HR sees a political science bachelor's degree on your resume, they give a polite smile and silently ask themselves one question. So what exactly can this person do? This is the biggest dilemma for political science graduates. Your head is full of grand ideas, but your resume does not show a single immediately usable hard skill. Unless you are willing to keep spending money on further education, go to law school, get a master's in public policy, or take various government exams, the career path for a political science graduate is, frankly, very unclear. This is one of the most classic cases of a huge gap between ideals and a resume. You walk into school with ambitions to change the world. 4 years later, you walk out with a resume that does not know which job to apply for. The disappointment is not anger. It is a very deep, heavy sense of helplessness. A few years ago, a major American job search website conducted a large-scale survey. Communications was already near the top of the regret list. In 2026, the data still shows no reversal. Why? Because too many people choose communications with a very specific image in their heads. They see the eloquent news anchor on screen. They see the social media influencer commanding public attention. They see the glamorous host in formal wear at award ceremonies. They believe they will one day stand in that spotlight. But the truth is, competition in the media industry is 1,000 times more brutal than you imagine. This is a classic winner, take all industry. The tiny number of people at the top earn incomes that will make your jaw drop. But at the bottom, the vast majority of communications graduates start with salaries so low that you will question where your 4 years of tuition actually went. And the media environment changes so fast that you simply cannot keep up. What you learn in class today, the theories and operational methods, may become completely useless tomorrow because of a new social platform, a new algorithm, or a new content format. What schools teach you can never catch up with the speed of industry change. What is even crueler? In this field, experience is worth far more than a degree. That classmate of yours who dropped out in freshman year but spent every day making short videos and studying traffic algorithms, 4 years later, their income might be 10 or even 20 times higher than yours. They do not have a diploma, but they have a portfolio, they have data, they have followers, and you have a communications degree, but you have no portfolio. This is not your fault. It is just how the game works in this industry. They do not look at your degree. They do not care what courses you took. They only ask you one question. What have you actually made? Show me. If you chose history simply because your high school history teacher was entertaining, or because you enjoy watching historical dramas on Netflix, those who have been through it might pat you on the shoulder and say, please think again. The biggest problem with history is not that what it teaches has no value. To be fair, the critical thinking skills, information evaluation ability, data organization skills, written expression, and logical reasoning that history majors develop, these are all excellent and solid soft skills. But the problem lies precisely in that word, soft. When you go to a job interview, the boss does not look at soft skills. The boss sits across from you, and the only thing on their mind is this. What specific problems can you solve for me? Can you write code for me? Can you manage accounts? Can you do marketing? Can you lead projects? These are things history did not teach you. The number of jobs that directly match a history degree is so small that you will question why this major even exists. Teaching positions are extremely limited, and every one of your competitors is fighting with the determination that they will teach or die. Museums, archives, research institutions, the number of openings in these places can be counted on one hand, and each one has hundreds of people waiting in line. So the vast majority of history graduates have no choice but to change paths. Take civil service exams, go to law school, move into business. Do administration, do sales, anything works. But the problem is, what you studied for 4 years has almost no direct connection to the work you will ultimately depend on for survival. You spent 4 years and tens of thousands of dollars to get a degree that is almost irrelevant to your career. This once again proves that brutal rule of the workplace. Employers only pay for your hard skills. They do not pay a premium for your intellectual depth. Studying history is not a sin. Loving history is a beautiful thing. But if you do not use those 4 years to also acquire some marketable hard skill, on graduation day you will discover an absurd truth. You can talk eloquently at the dinner table about the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, but you cannot give a single good reason why an interviewer should hire you. Sociology is a bit like political science. Many people walk in with a deep concern for society. You want to understand how classes are formed. You want to figure out how inequality is reproduced through institutions. You want to deconstruct the operating logic behind this giant machine called society. These questions are certainly important. These reflections are certainly valuable. But the market, to put it bluntly, does not care what sociology graduates can do. The employment outcomes for sociology graduates are frankly extremely scattered. You might become a social worker, but the pay and stress in that profession are hard to describe in words. You might go into market research, you might work for a nonprofit, you might become an academic research assistant. Or you might simply change fields entirely and do something completely unrelated to sociology. But no matter which path you take, you will encounter the same problem. Your salary growth curve is so flat that you will wonder if society has forgotten about you. Multiple long-term tracking reports all point to the same conclusion. Among all university majors, sociology graduates have one of the flattest salary growth curves. What does that mean? After 5 years of work, your salary is likely almost the same as what you earned in your first year out of college. What is even more discouraging is that many positions that are even slightly related to sociology and offer slightly better pay all require a master's degree or even a PhD. You spend 4 years in college. You think you have earned a degree that can start your career? No. You have only earned a ticket that says, please keep paying tuition and burning your youth for graduate school. The distance between ideals and reality for sociology students is farther and crueler than for most others. Topping the list of majors with the highest regret rate in 2026, with no surprise at all, is general studies and interdisciplinary studies. What makes this major so dangerous and insidious is that it sounds absolutely perfect. I am not sure what I want to do in the future. I am interested in many things. So I have decided to choose general studies. I will learn a little bit of everything. That way I will have more choices later and a wider range of career options. Have you ever said that? Or have you heard someone around you say that? Let me tell you what the problem is. 4 years later, you are about to graduate. You open LinkedIn, you open job search websites, you start browsing positions that interest you, then you realize that every single job description is written very clearly. Proficiency in Python and data analysis. 3 years of digital marketing experience. Expertise in financial statement analysis. Project management capability. You look down at what you have actually learned over the past 4 years. Introduction to Sociology last semester. Introduction to Psychology this semester. Basic Statistics last semester. Literature and Film Appreciation this semester. A summer course on Introduction to Environmental Science. You have touched every subject. You have some basic understanding of everything. But you cannot confidently claim mastery of any single one. There is nothing you can put on your resume and say, this is my core professional competence. This is the central dilemma of general studies, summed up in just 6 words. A little of everything equals nothing at all. When you go to a job interview, HR picks up your resume, reads it from top to bottom, then from bottom to top for a full 3 minutes. They simply cannot determine what kind of talent you are. Your resume says in beautiful font, strong interdisciplinary learning ability with a diverse perspective. But all HR thinks is one thing. I need someone who can start working tomorrow. Not someone who seems to have potential, but will require another 6 months of training from scratch. This is not HR's fault. This is the reality of the job market. The long-term tracking data from the Federal Reserve Bank is very clear and very raw. Among all categories of university majors, the lifetime total earnings of general studies graduates are almost at the bottom. It is not because they are not smart. It is not because they do not work hard. It is because when they enter the job market, they have no weapons. In a highly specialized modern workplace, being a generalist is often a polite way of saying you fit in nowhere. Of course, if you come from a wealthy family with no financial pressure, if you do not need to start earning money immediately after graduation, then studying general studies is perfectly fine. Go ahead and slowly explore life. Slowly find your passion. Then go get a master's degree and fill in the professional gaps. That is a very fortunate path, and I sincerely wish you well. But if you need to start paying off your student loans the day after graduation, if you need to support yourself, then before choosing general studies, please think twice and then think again. Looking at the common features of these high regret majors in 2026, the pattern is clear. When tuition has risen by 40% while starting salaries have barely moved, a major that lacks clearly marketable skills, relies heavily on advanced degrees, or exists in an industry with structural pay problems will have an extremely poor return on investment. This is not denying the intrinsic value of the humanities, social sciences, or basic sciences. Those values are real and they matter. But the reality is, if you do not build an economic foundation for your ideals in advance, they can easily be crushed by bills. So here is a piece of honest advice for everyone who is choosing a major or already studying in one of these fields. When choosing a major, look at the return on investment first, and then look at your interest. If you insist on choosing one of the majors mentioned above, then during your 4 years of college, make sure you also acquire a hard skill that can put food on the table. Business thinking, data analysis, programming, digital marketing. Anything will do. Do not wait until graduation day to realize that all you have in your hand is a beautiful diploma, but no real skill to fight with on day one. Drop a comment below. Have you or someone around you stepped into any of these traps? Which major surprised you the most? Feel free to share your thoughts and give a heads up to young people who are choosing their majors right now. We will see you in the next one.